We the people want to talk about service member Alex Wolfe and how people in this country are becoming radicalized to the idea that violence is the option and the solution that they need to take in order to stop things that they deem are fearful. Service member Alex Wolfe, according to nurses, is starting to respond to external stimulation. When prompted, he is starting to wiggle toes and move around a little bit. This is a good sign and a blessing that he is starting to recover. All prayers go out to him, his family, and everybody around him for a safe and speedy recovery, and hopefully their lives can get back to some semblance of normal as soon as possible. The shooter in this situation has been in front of a judge, has been charged with murder and other counts, and has pled not guilty. He will see his day in court. He will stand trial for what he has done. The bigger picture is the radicalization of this person. People like Christy Noon have come out and said that he's been radicalized while living in the United States, and other people are starting to question how and why. When you listen to politicians, it doesn't matter what side of the aisle you're on, and they're talking about the president being Hitler, and all of his followers are Nazis, people start to panic. People start to worry. When you hear the words dictator and fascist thrown around all the time, people start to get into an uproar. As people panic, some people act out of fear. And fear is a great motivator for people to do stupid things. When somebody is afraid, all logic tends to go out the window, and they think of the first response to do that will stop the fear from impacting them. In certain situations, it's taking the life of another person. Rhetoric like this needs to stop. Politicians need to stop turning the temperature up to where people feel fear for no reason. People should not be afraid of their government. The government should be afraid of the people. The people can overthrow the government and can remove any person from power as they see fit. This is why the government uses fear-mongering techniques, uses hateful and harmful rhetoric, no matter what side of the aisle you're on, to stir up fear. Because if you believe that the people that are using fear against other people, you're going to want to keep them in power. If you believe that the Democrats are fighting against the Nazis, you're going to want to keep the Democrats in power. If you believe that the Republicans are fighting against fascist dictators, you're going to want to keep them in power. The fear that they are using as a weapon against the American people needs to stop, and the only ones that can stop them are the American people. They're not going to stop on their own accord because they are in power. But the problem is their power is a blindfold. The people's power is the true power that is held in this country. But they keep us divided. They keep us fighting each other for so long that American people have lost sight of who has the total control. We, the people, are the ones that elect the politicians into the seats of power that they are elected into. They don't elect us. They are elected by the people. They are of the people, and they are elected for the people. And when they stop being for the people is when they need to be removed by the people. And the only way to do this is when it's time to vote, we remember who has done what to help and who has done what to harm. Now, we just came out of a Democrat-controlled shutdown. Democrats controlled the shutdown. They stopped the government from opening. Millions of Americans suffered when food stamps ran out, and they were worried about when food stamps would come back. But Democrats lied about who was actually controlling the shutdown. But as soon as Democrats got past the vote in November, and more Democrats were elected into seats of power, immediately the shutdown was put to an end. Democrats voted to reopen the government. Now people like Chuck Schumer, who were the ones that controlled shut down, are coming out and speaking out against Donald Trump for a handful of other things. But one of the things is for not putting America first. But you just controlled the fate of millions of Americans for how much and when they were able to afford food again. But Donald Trump's not putting Americans first. Again, this is another fear tactic. This is another way to stay in power, to control the minds of people that listen to them. I'm not saying a Democrat's right. I'm not saying a Republican is correct. The American people need to wake up. You need to do your own research. Get off the news channels. Get off of Fox. Get off of MSNBC. Get off of CNN. They all lie. They all spin the narrative to their side of the aisle. Do the research yourself. Go on the internet and look up the different news articles. Don't just look up one side. Look up both sides. Perfect website to do this is groundnews.com. You will see the left, you will see the right, you will see the center. You will actually be able to do unbiased research and find out for yourself what is truly going on. When you find out what is truly going on, you need to make an impartial decision. Read the facts, study the facts, know the facts, and then when it comes time to vote, implement those facts. Remove the people from power that have done nothing but harm and divide this country. We, the people, need to take this country back. We, the people, need to start ruling this country with common sense ideology and common sense politicians. No more far left, no more far right. We need people who are willing to sit down and work with both sides of the aisle again. We need people that aren't going to throw around words that are hateful and harmful just to try to get their way across. Because once you start throwing around words like Nazi, Hitler, homophobe, xenophobe, you're just admitting you're not going to work with anybody. You're going to try to shut them down and get their base to shut them down with it. And that's not going to work anymore. This country needs a revival in so many ways and in so many different aspects. The first thing we need to do to get this country back to where it needs to be is we need to remove the politicians that aren't doing anything to help us out. This country should not be so divided that there are talks of civil war again between the different sides of people. We need to sit down and have a talk. Figure out why people are leaning one side or the other. How did they grow up? What shaped them into the person that they are today, that this is the decisions that they are thinking about? And we need to start talking to people before more people get radicalized and start taking violence into their hands because they feel it's the only option that they have afforded to them. If somebody had sat down with any of these political shooters in the past and talked to them, things might have just turned out differently. They may not have. But you don't know what's going to happen till you can actually sit down and have a conversation with somebody. They say 15 minutes could save the life of somebody who's thinking of committing suicide. What could 15 minutes do to the life of the person that is thinking of committing an act of heinous violence against another person or a group of people? If any of these school shooters had felt like somebody had their back and somebody was there to support them and just listen to them, maybe the amount of school shootings would go down. But we need to make sure we can stop all the hateful and harmful rhetoric that is coming from the politicians and the people in power of this country. And if they're not willing to stop on their own, then we, the people, must continue the fight and remove them from the seat of power that they were elected to. And that goes for anybody from a city council person to a mayor to a senator, excuse me, to a governor, to the president. If they're not going to do the job they were hired to do and help the people they were hired by, then they need to go. You're not going to sit there and on videos and just talk slick anymore. You're not going to wear a fancy 3-piece suit and tell us that we don't know what's going on and we don't understand what's happening behind the closed doors. When it comes to politics, there should be no closed doors. The American people need to know everything. The American people deserve to know everything that is happening because the American people are the ones who told you to do this job. So now it's time to audit Congress. It's time to audit politicians. And if they fail these audits, it's time to remove them and find the next person who will actually do the job, do it properly, do it the way they were hired to do it, and bring this country back together before more violence begets more violence and people start getting hurt at a drastic rate in this country. Because if too many people start to feel like civil war is the only outcome, then eventually it will boil over and it will not be safe to be out in the streets of this country anymore. We the people have the power to take this country back from the corrupt politicians that are doing nothing but keeping us divided and fighting against one another. And it's time we start to take it back from them. Thank you guys. Have a great day. Be safe. Bye.